My name is Earl Ofari Hutchinson, E-A-R-L-O-F-A-R-I, H-U-T-C-H-I-N-S-O-N. I'm the president of the Los Angeles Urban Policy Roundtable. We've had continuing issues since we made a challenge to the city of Torrance a few days ago regarding the profiling, racial profiling of Minister Robert Taylor, who's here today. The issues have been not only stop the profiling, but something else: intimidation, harassment, and threats. A civil rights leader's walk against racial profiling was held yesterday in the city of Torrance for 1 block. During that period of time, there were taunts, there were catcalls, there were jeers, there was intimidation, there were threats that were made by those that were there counter-demonstrating against the very peaceful walk against racial profiling. As a result of that, Minister Taylor, his fiancée, his daughter, and his 2 grandchildren, who all reside with him, they had to leave the city of Torrance for a few hours. The situation was so hostile, so volatile, we could not take a chance and expose Minister Taylor in any way to any kind of repercussions. So as a result of that, this morning, the Los Angeles Urban Policy Roundtable and all of the area's civil rights leaders, we sent a letter to Stephen Martinez. Stephen Martinez is the acting LA director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Westwood. Same letter also went to Andre Barot, who is a U.S. attorney for the Central District of California, and essentially it said 2 things. Number 1, we want full, round-the-clock protection, guaranteeing the security and safety of Minister Robert Taylor and his family. We also, too, to U.S. Attorney Andre Barot, we want to fast-track pattern and practice investigation of the Torrance Police Department and the city of Torrance for their abusive, intimidating, and harassing tactics that have been well documented over time. This letter was sent today. A comparable letter was sent to U.S. Attorney Barot. We also issued one more challenge. The city of Torrance has a responsibility to its citizens. One of its citizens is Minister Robert Taylor, a 10-year resident of Torrance with an impeccable record. We are holding the city of Torrance, the mayor, the city council, the city attorney, the city manager, all city officials in Torrance. We are holding them accountable and responsible for the safety and security of not only one of our citizens, a resident of Torrance, but someone who has the right of safe passage, free passage to work, to his business, to all the other things, enjoyments in the city of Torrance is like any other citizen. So the challenge is to the city of Torrance, all the officials. You have a duty and a responsibility and an obligation to protect all of your citizens, most importantly, someone who has come under threat, Minister Robert Taylor. Eddie Jones?
Yes. My name is Eddie Jones, E-D-D-I-E-J-O-N-E-S, president of the Los Angeles Civil Rights Association. When a person is pulled over, they have a civil right, a constitutional right, a human right to exercise their rights. If they're not read their Miranda rights, and they're being held against their will, or they're assuming that they are someone that they're not, they're assuming that they are a bad person, there is a certain way that you do that type of stop. If you want to stop the person and pull them over and ask them questions, that's okay. But to hold them and to intimidate them in front of their daughter and to see the 15-year-old daughter crying, there is something wrong here. There is liberty and justice in the United States of America, but there is no justice if there's racial profiling in the city of Torrance. We are asking you to pay attention and look at the history of Torrance. It shows all of the police have been involved, even choking out a young man until he was unconscious, and these incidents are occurring in the city of Torrance. We will be watching, analyzing, and evaluating the pattern of their police department to make sure that everyone is treated equally. But right now we have a problem in Torrance, and we plan on correcting that problem by making sure that we make them accountable for their actions.
Reverend K.W. Tullis, T-U-L-L-O-S-S, National Action Network here in Los Angeles. We stand here today in support of these efforts led by these civil rights organizations to this wonderful man of God and his family. For a man to have been racially profiled and pulled out of his car in the midst of his child and for a man to have had to relocate because of his fear of retaliation because of the march that took place on yesterday, it brings awareness that we're living in some horrible times. So the National Action Network, under the leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton, has released a statement which is posted, I believe, on the Hutchinson Report website. We stand in support of Pastor Taylor and his family, and we stand here today with these other organizations and voicing our concerns. Thank you.
Reverend Eric Lee, I'm the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Greater Los Angeles. It is clear that racial profiling is a reality in African American communities across this nation. It's raising its ugly head in Torrance. And the unfortunate circumstance is that when the police are charged with investigating their own crimes, that's not truly an investigation, that's a cover-up. And we need to have federal authorities to come in and do an investigation on the pullover practices of the Torrance Police Department. It's clear that it happens not only in Torrance, but in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, and all cities across this nation. It is not a myth, but a reality for the African American community. This has been a long history and challenge and complaint of the African American community, and it needs to be investigated truly by authorities outside of the Torrance Police Department. Police cannot police the police. And so we need to make sure that federal authorities will come in and provide us with accurate assessment of the practices of the Torrance Police Department, because we will not allow for this unchecked and unwarranted behavior to continue to exist. And so the SCLC supports Dr. Earl Ofari Hutchinson and the Urban Roundtable and what they do in continuing to expose the racism that exists in our communities. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for coming out. I appreciate everyone's concern about this matter. Pastor Taylor, yesterday I was under the impression that it was going to be a peaceful rally against racial profiling by the city of Torrance. Fortunately, I was met with some serious opposition from the other side. When I got to the corner where the incident occurred, and jeers and name calling, and one gentleman, I don't know who he was, but he
stayed in your face with the camera.
Stayed in my face with the camera, and I asked him where he was from, and he said he was from the media, and I needed to answer all these questions for him about my background, how many stops I made when I was on the PD in Michigan, and he just kept following me everywhere I went. I couldn't even breathe, and he was up in my face. He was like spitting on me and just taunting and acting outraged. You have to answer these questions, and I asked him, he was harassing me, could you please step back out of my face? And everywhere I went, he was running. He was following me all through the whole protest. So, of course, I have two small grandchildren. One is 11. The other is 16. I have a daughter. It's 15. Looking out the window, I said, I don't want you guys outside. Looking out the window. I go in the house. Everybody's afraid. Grandpa, we're afraid. Don't be afraid. You can go outside. You can do what you want. My other daughter, the one 15 years old that was in the car with me the day the incident occurred, she is so afraid. She says, Daddy, I don't want to be here anymore. My daughter has already been moved out of the house with her mother. I won't mention the location where she is. But that's how intimidated she is. Now my granddaughters, Grandpa, we're afraid. I don't want them to be afraid. I'm a peaceful man. I'm a man of God. All I want is for this to stop.
Just one other thought. Before we came over today and after the civil rights walk that we had yesterday, the Los Angeles Urban Policy Roundtables, we said for the next 6 months, we will be monitoring the pattern and practice of the Torrance Police Department. The case, you got a problem in the city of Torrance, a long-standing problem. It's got to be resolved. It's got to be stopped and stopped now.